God gave us a vision for Bible studies, but his vision included so much more. And that's how Release Ministries began.
Release Ministries exists because there are youth and families out there that have been traumatized, youth and families that have been broken. Their lives are not safe and healthy, and they need a friend, they need an organization, they need people that can come in and walk with them and help them move them to freedom. Release Ministries now is in the detention centers and in group homes doing Bible study, over 1,000 youth a year.
I'm the chaplain at Release Ministries. I go into the DCYC and share the gospel of Jesus Christ with the kids. I do everything from, personal counseling time, on the units with the kids to death notifications, whether that be a loved one of their homeboys from one of their neighborhoods or homegirls or whatever. Man, just anything it takes to love them. You name it, I'm there.
We're mentoring the youth in the community, mostly from juvenile justice, over 150 of them a year.
There was always a vision of Release Ministries, Bill Ellett in particular, that we would have a mentoring program, because he recognized that once they get out, they need ongoing support.
We're working with a new residential care with traumatized youth.
It's a family-style environment, which first off is very different. We actually have house parents that live in the home full-time. We also have a therapeutic component, and so I work in the home, and we also work to get kids set up with outside therapists who can do more long-term work for them.
We are working with almost 300 families now a year in home services and in parenting time to reunify and to strengthen the families.
So a lot of CBI case work is working with the families, it's working with the system, it's kind of being a bridge back to allow everybody to get the things that they need.
And finally, Release has foster care, which provides families for kids who really need it when they can't safely be with their own families.
If you're a Release Ministries foster parent, you are going to get a level of care and support and expertise to help you do the difficult job.
I've seen what we're doing is important because we've gotten kids into foster care and gotten them home with their families, or taken kids that have been displaced from other homes and been able to show them love in ways that they haven't seen before. And that's why I came to Release.
Safe.
Safe is one of the things we first learned. That safe, it's so important to be safe. When kids are traumatized, when kids have problems, when kids don't feel safe, they can't change.
It's pretty foundational to our approach with kids that we believe that for them to hear what adults are telling them, they need to know that they're going to be protected.
They aren't able to make cognitive lasting changes. They're in fight or flight mode. Their brain is not able to process any kind of new incoming information, and they just are trying to get out. So if we want to make any kind of lasting change, it's really important that we establish that sense of safety pretty quickly with our kids.
We train on, what are the signs of child neglect? What are the signs of trauma, of sex trafficking? So we're aware of the big dangers. We understand culture and gangs and criminogenic thinking.
Safe person, somebody who's not always having to be on guard, right? And looking behind them for fear that something's coming that they're not prepared for, and they feel secure.
When I hear safe, I think of support.
Being not in harm.
I think of without insecurity.
Knowing that the things I need are available to me.
Feeling a piece of reassurance.
Protection, security.
Concrete is actually the best teacher of how hard concrete is. And so sometimes Safety comes when we understand the dangers that are before us.
We are just beginning to understand how much damage it can do when the people who are supposed to keep a kid safe actually do them harm.
The things that happen to them when they're young, whether it's neglect, whether it's abuse, whatever it is, causes them to look for control in their lives. But they won't stop those things because they get control out of that. They feel safe in horrible situations and doing bad things because it gives them control of their life.
Sometimes we do have to be protective. Sometimes we do have to intervene in a way that isn't what people want or doesn't make them happy. Whether it's protecting a kid from something dangerous that they want, that we know isn't going to be good for them, or sometimes we have to say this family is not being safe, and that has consequences of sometimes they lose their kids. But they need to believe that we're on their side, that we care for them, that they matter.
I tell them, I verbally express it. I tell them they can be safe with me. There's nothing you could do to make me stop loving you. Nothing. I might get upset because I don't want you to hurt yourself. I might even get frustrated, but I'll love you forever.
So that idea of safety really transfers also to how we try to treat each other on staff. We want to create a place where people are not afraid to do their best, not afraid to make mistakes. One of the things that we say in new hire training to every person is that no matter what happens, until I have a reason not to, I will always believe that you made the best decision that you could make in that moment with the information you had available.
First thing is just really being able to listen and to suspend judgment.
We work really hard on understanding the types of judgments that a person might bring to a situation that could get in the way of helping. And so we do a lot in our intercultural training about helping you understand what are the things that you might be bringing to a situation that would cause you to make a judgment, even subconsciously, that would put up a wall between you and that person that you want to help.
And that's just the idea of having a safe environment where people can be vulnerable and be honest about just the things that are really going on. That tends to happen in supervisor meetings, that happens in our staffings, and then obviously just in our Friday morning meetings that we have just as an organization, where safety means the idea that, you can share that you're hurting and no one's gonna judge you. You can share that you don't have all the answers. That you can share that, I'm even thinking about quitting this, or because of what's going on, it's causing me to struggle my faith and I don't even understand why. Like the idea of safety provides Christians opportunity to be vulnerable with one another.
Falling and getting back up again. That's how I experience safety with Release Ministries.
They have to be safe, they have to be willing to trust us, they have to be willing to be vulnerable and change to become people that will do it the right way, to become healthy, to develop a trusting relationship. They have to have a safe person that's going to be the person that leads them along the way.
Here's how we intentionally create safe is we don't give up on people when they mess up.
You need to be together to be safe. Being all by yourself out there is really never a safe situation for you.
Together. Together for me means I'm not in this by myself.
Well, for a lot of our families, it means getting their children back home.
When I hear together, I think family.
I guess together what it means to me is just a collective effort between not only the families but also ourselves to bring them to the desired goal.
So when we meet them, we do assessments. We have some really good evidence-based tools that we apply. We listen to the families and we hear what they say they need to work on. And then we listen to the agency that refers them to us and we hear what they say. And we take all those together and we build a really good plan. And then we walk that through with the whole team.
Together is huge because it's God's plan, for relationships. And mentoring is about relationships.
Relationship is so important because we know that change happens in the context of relationship. And the reason it works that way is you have to have someone in relationship that you trust, someone that has your best interest, and that has that best interest before you'll be safe enough to open up and become vulnerable and be able to take the steps to change and move from what you're doing to where you should be going. That takes relationship.
I just wanted to help people. I didn't want them to experience some of the pain that I experienced, but even if they did, I wanted them to know they had somebody to walk with them. You know, that was really big for me because, you know, they'll fall, they'll make mistakes, and when you dealing with people who are in incarceration, when they get out, you know, they just because they got out don't mean their mind is free. That meant a lot to me being incarcerated myself. I understood the mindset. I think that motivates me more, is that for them to feel like, okay, I have somebody who's been through what I've been through.
Okay, what does a mentor do? Basically, at the foundation, a mentor lives out their faith and relationship with a young person.
Meet their needs predictably, be available for them, listen to them, and really get to know them.
Working with families, serving families, having support of my supervisor, and knowing that even our executive director has our best interest.
We're willing to be in it with the foster parents. We're available 24/7 for anything that they need. We're here to listen. We're going to follow up with them. We'll show up whenever they need something. And I think people feel really supported by our team, and they don't feel like they're doing it alone.
I think of this organization that I absolutely love, Release, and that has helped my family to be together.
Release, they genuinely love you and they pray for you, and I have never been to a place where my supervisor will pray over the phone for me or pray over my families, the families that I'm taking care of and with almost every day.
Sitting down at a meal together creates a sense of togetherness in our group home. That's one of our program requirements, is that we sit down and we eat dinner together, and that allows communication to flow.
I'll be honest, we're all different, man. We have a lot of different ages. We have a lot of different diverse backgrounds.
They understand diversity's there. I mean, it's natural, especially in the type of people we deal with, an eclectic variety of people. And so diversity is there. What I feel that they implement the most is decency.
Working with Release, it's a family. It's not just another job, another paycheck. It's about working with families to help them to become families.
Together means everyone kind of pulling in the same direction.
And I felt a part of a team. Everybody had their own role, and my opinion was valuable, not just from an institutional standpoint, but from every area of life that I've lived. And their opinions were valuable to me.
And so our community, from the very beginning, from the time I got involved with Release, we had a community that really raised up one another, a community that valued truth. So for truth, you had to be safe to tell the truth, and you had to be safe to let people know what's really going on.
When we're alone, we don't have that support system we need in order to weather the storms that come in life. And so together implies that we are all in this together. Whether we are blood relation or just the family of God, we are all in this together, and we are going to help each other.
Healthy.
I think healthy is when all of the systems are working as they're supposed to.
In foster parent class, we train the word well-being and how it covers everything. So it covers your spiritual health and your mental health and your physical health. And
When one of the systems or one part of an organism is out of whack, it really affects everything.
Healthy is so important because in that relationship, there's so many things that they have to change, whether it can be anything from self-harm or anything from running from problems, or it can be drugs, it can be whatever it is, but there's something in their life that has caused them not to be living life well. And so it has to be safe together, But once they're together, you have to move to something healthy, or they'll go back to the situation they were before, on the run, in trouble, incarcerated.
Everything Release has done for me as a staff, I see them doing the same thing for the people. It's not just about them getting out of jail. It's really about helping your life change. When I got out 10 years ago, I was homeless, and I was not doing well.
It means working through a lot of steps to make sure that the together is also safe.
Healthy is not you have it all together or you're perfect. It's that you know you have some problems or some issues or some barriers, and you're working towards healing.
I think healthy is just a state of content and of being.
Open to changes in communication, that know how to communicate how they're feeling so they can fix things and not leave them broken.
Working with the youth has helped me understand my unhealthy areas also. My first experience was as a Bible study leader in the Douglas County Youth Center, and I remember how much I wanted a story, how much I wanted them to not come back, how much I wanted them to come to know Jesus and see that transformation in their life. And it would hurt so much when I would see them come back, or help someone get in a group home and see them kicked out or see them leave. And I realized that I was really unhealthy in the area that I needed it for me. I needed to be vindicated.
I feel like my mind has been helped because when I met you guys 10 years ago, I was living on 16th in Ohio, and I would get when I became the chaplain 2 years after I had volunteered. So my mind was still back there, and it took falling a lot of times. I fell a lot of times scared. I messed up a lot of money. Disappointed my wife and my kids. Probably disappointed Dave, Raymond a lot, Dave Weiniger a lot, Dave Martin. I probably disappointed a lot of people. But I don't know, I just felt safe falling around these cats, man.
Emotionally healthy really means that we have to really be talking about the things. We need to talk about our anxiety. We need to talk about our stressors. We need to talk about how we cope with things. We need to just approach everything with an honest, straightforward talk so that we can be healthy.
I think communication is dire for healthy relationships and healthy people, just because once you can get out your feelings and your thoughts about what's going on, usually you can be pretty level-headed, and then you can get back to that state of, we've talked about it, and really, it's not a big deal. Everything is going to be okay.
We purposefully, consciously take time to interact with one another outside of our duties and tasks, but to relate to one another and to be personal and vulnerable with one another. We cannot be taking people in an area that we're not living in ourselves. We can't create something in someone else that they don't see in the lives of our staff and in our own lives.
If we want to help people be healthy, we have to be healthy ourselves. So we spend a lot of time as staff just working on our own personal health. Every worker has to talk through, their cases and what's going on in them and how to do that. But a large portion of their weekly meetings with their supervisor is just a check-in on how are you doing? What are the things you need? How is your family? What can we do to be in that with you?
It was established very quickly that not only were they willing to listen to me, but they could handle my emotions and as I would verbally process through things. And that's an incredibly safe feeling to know that I can go and process through, because sometimes at the end of the day, this job is really, really hard. And you need a space where you can open up and talk to people and feel comfortable that they're gonna be able to listen to you without judgment. And I feel like that is something that the staff here at Release Ministries truly embodies.
That's my favorite part, is our staff getting together every Thursday and supporting each other as a small team, and then getting together on Friday as a large family of Release, where we get to share with each other. And in both of those ways, you really just develop relationships. so that when you're working, you know that people have your back and that you can call people.
Coming to staff meeting on Fridays, that's therapy for me. I don't know what it is for anybody else, but for me, it's therapy.
Release is unlike any place I've ever worked before. We have staff meetings that begin and end with prayer. And I was a pastor. Our focus really is on how do we bring Christ's love to people in crisis.
There's so much grace with our staff and with our supervisors because they understand that we're all at different parts in our journey.
Practical ways to have self-care. In the job we do, self-care is so important. Self-care means that we are connected with God. We're connected with other people that are not involved in our home. We're connected with our support system, that when we have a bad day, we've got somebody to call to say, you know, things are really horrible right now. I just need to cry.
Who we are today is that from the beginning, Bill set the standard that we wouldn't put the job we're doing above the people that are doing the job.
Free.
Free for the families we work with. We want them to be free from the system. They don't have to have the government coming in and telling them how to run their lives because their families are healthy and their families are free. Free from what we want for them spiritually is actually the freedom that comes from not being controlled, not living according to the flesh, not living just according to urges, but being under the control of a loving Holy Spirit.
Being free is very scary. The way that they have lived their lives, there's a sort of comfort even in the bad because there's routine to that. And freedom takes all of that routine and throws it out the window and says, you can have another way, a better way. And they see that, but it's very, very scary to take steps towards that.
I think hope is pretty closely tied to freedom. I think all of us intrinsically know that freedom is better than not having freedom. But in order to take the steps to grow, we need to believe that there is something better on the other side. My experience has kind of taught me that change is difficult, change is hard, and even though what we have might not be good, it's something that's known. And so to experience freedom, there's an element of giving up something known for something that's unknown. And I think hope is the bridge between those two things.
Free is really being your true, authentic self.
Freedom to me means to express myself and not even have an ounce of fear that someone is watching me and casting judgment.
No anxieties. No obligations hanging over your head. No constraints on your life.
So when a kid is free, they are able to make mistakes without judgment. They are able to try new things, explore new opportunities. They're able to be vulnerable with other people. And they're able to take responsibility for their actions because they recognize that people make mistakes and that they're not going to be judged and harassed for making those mistakes.
So I'm free. I'm free to ask for help when I need it. That's free. I'm free, and even if I don't get the help, I'm free to be okay with that. I wasn't okay with that one day. I would go make it happen for myself. And I ended up in prison because I thought I could fix it. I just want my kids to be free, not just my kids, but all the young people and all the adults that God bring in my presence. I just want to let them know, you're free. You are free. You just have to believe it.
We're given freedom to find what works. Working with people out of who we are and finding the right things to do for who the families are.
Over everything, families need prayer because we can do so much. We can, give them resources, and we can constantly fight this battle of trying to, get them things that we think they need, physical, and material possessions, but really everything that they need is out of our control, and it's up to God to give it to them. They need peace, and they need to feel like they're loved, and they need to feel like they're giving support to their children.
It's one of the things I think we've learned in residential is that we aren't enough. Like, as much as I think we give the kids, and they experience often for the first time deep love and connection and being in a very healing environment, we've learned that we are temporary. And so we've really refocused in the last couple of years to allow what we do to really transfer into wherever they go next.
I really, in the last week, have remembered why I came. Seeing our foster family take in a teenager who was about to give birth to a baby and be so open to doing that. And within 24 hours, throwing her a baby shower that our staff helped put together, and just doing all this for a girl to walk in and feel so loved because nobody had ever done anything like that before. And in the hospital, texting the foster parents that she thought it was too soon to say I love you, but that they were the best foster family she's ever had. And this is a girl that's been through every placement possible, and she feels loved by our homes, and that's why we do what we do.
When we set out to love kids and their families. We just do it. And what's kind of been amazing is that it kind of works. Like, people can usually tell. So we don't go out of our way to show that we authentically love each other. We just try to actually love each other.
I'm incredibly proud of the work that we do. I'm proud of the hearts of the people that work for this organization and how they strive every day in the hardest circumstances you can imagine to bring Jesus to people who may never see him otherwise.
We care about the individual families and about the individuals in those families, that they really can be safe and together and healthy and free.
This is an organization that is concerned with my spiritual and my emotional well-being. That's just a place that it's good because we're working in a place that those things are at risk every day.
Release Ministries, when I think about what they do well, is how relentless we are. When we start working with a family, we continue to work with them. And the only time we ever give up is when giving up is in their best interest.
I don't think Release is a small organization. I think that there's growth, but I think that, we're not frying small fish, we're frying big fish, and it matters, and it's a big deal. And if you have this idea in your head that Release is just a tiny little organization that's trying to do the love of God, in Omaha, we're reaching much more than that, and it's affecting much more people and touching lives, and there's big things to come that I don't think anybody's expecting.
I have a part in something that is so much bigger than myself, and that I really feel like everybody involved wants so bad to let God have his way in the lives of these families, and that we just excited to be a part of it. I feel like we just getting started.
Shortly after Bill passed away, I ran into Al Doney, who was the one that went to the DCYC with Bill, and we were just chatting, and we were 20 years at that time, and he just smiled and had tears in his eyes. He said, when we started this out, we just prayed that somehow this work would continue. He said, that's my biggest prayer. When I could no longer do it, we always hoped that this could continue. And here we are, continuing and thriving and moving on to greater things because of two faithful people that went to a jail.
We really want to just try to love people and then free them to go love people. And we've been able to pull it off somehow. I think it's actually happening.
Yeah. So that whole freedom was when Bill walked in and saw the youth in shackles, he said, this should not be that way. Kids should not be in shackles, kids should be free. So from the very beginning, we knew that, but we just didn't know the path that it took to get to freedom. Now that we do, it's safe, together, healthy, and free.